Hey guys, welcome to Brain Space. Today we are going to start our global discussion live event on Instagram. As you guys already know, Mr. Carmona Polá, an international relation analyst, is going to join us today in this discussion event. So he's going to talk about the violence in USA followed by the death of George. That was a sad event. So let's invite him.
Thank you for having me. And it's a great honor to be part of these discussions. My name is Carmona Polá, and first of all, I would like to sincerely thank Mr. Gokul for his invitation to make part of these discussions.
And you can tell me what is your understanding about racism? What is the sole cause of all this?
Well, it's a complex issue. It's a complex issue, okay? Because racism has existed throughout human history. And it can be defined in various ways, but basically racism is the hatred of one person to another because of their skin color, their culture, their customs, or their place of birth, or any other factors that somehow or supposedly reveals too much about the person's basic nature. And the main focus of racism is the inferiority, you know. Okay, so racism is when a certain culture or a certain people from certain culture, they think that they are somehow superior to others due to the place that they were born or their skin colors. Racism is something present in almost every countries around the world, but let's just focus on the USA because it is our main concern right now. And in USA, racism have been installed there for centuries and centuries, and as far as I can envisage, it has affected almost every scopes of the daily life in USA. But now let's just focus on the justice system. USA has a total population of more than 328 million people in USA, and black people they make up 13% of this total population, and white people they make up almost 60% of this population, and Latinos 18%, Asian 18%, and Native American they just make up 1%. USA is a total of 2.3 million prison population, and 14% of this population are black, 39 are white, and 19% are Latinos, and 1% is native. So it could be said that black people are more likely to be indicted for crimes. They are more likely to be imprisoned rather than white people, and that make me and that is a fact that USA justice system is racist, and they somehow black people somehow they are more likely to be convicted for crimes.
I want to ask you some questions. So, what are the root causes of the protest in USA?
Yeah, as further as I'm concerned, George Floyd was just a striker that ignited a protest that have been hidden there. People were tired of what have been happening in USA. So that wasn't an isolated event. It was just something that escalated the protests, the conflicts from hidden to nationwide uprisings and now worldwide, because people, the social tissue of USA have been saturated due to the atrocities that have been happening all across this nation as the time passed by. So people were tired of what have been happening, and they were just waiting for an opportunity to rebel or to protest against what have been happening to them.
And can we compare what happened in USA to what happened in Middle East in 2011?
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, it can be compared to Arab Spring, because both conflicts had arose in similar situations. Arab Spring was motivated by the social, economical, and political context into which many Middle Eastern countries were inserted on. And it started in Tunisia when a man saw his rights being violated by the national police. He was just a street vendor, and then the man went to a public square, set himself on fire. So that act it served just like a martyr. So that act ignited a nationwide protest. Nationwide protest. But it started in Tunisia after a man named Mohammed Bouaziz set himself on fire publicly due to his rights violation, and it sprouted a nationwide protest. And in the USA, we have George Floyd, who got his rights violated as well. In both cases, we have right violation has ignition, and however, with different motivations. In Tunisia, was motivated by the dictatorship of the regime, whilst in USA it had racial or racist motivations. To contain the protests that had engulfed many cities of Tunisia, the president of Tunisia, Ben Ali, he sent the national defense forces just to contain the protesters and to avoid further protesting. And then Mr. President Ben Ali, he gave permission to the soldiers to shoot on people. But those soldiers, they refused, they denied to open fire against their own people, and that left Mr. President Ben Ali with no support within the Tunisia. In USA, we had Donald Trump, President of America. He also deployed a national guard in order to contain the hunger of the protesters. And he somehow, in his account on Twitter, he gave a permission the national guards to open fire to shoot against the civilians. Donald Trump had deployed the National Guard to stop the protesters who overwhelmed the USA city, and kind of authorized the National Guards to open fire against the civilians, against the protesters. And so far, some police officers had joined the protesters, showing their support to the protesters, and they have just withdrawn their support to Mr. President Donald Trump. The protests of Tunisia had spilled over other neighboring countries that were facing the same problems, and the protests in the USA have spilled over other countries across the world. So, to me, the government of the United States is facing a very challenging time, because not only because of the protests, but they are being targeted by COVID-19 as well. And I think that so they must take an assertive measures in order to ensure that their people are equal, and the government might create conditions to provide equal rights or equal opportunities to everyone, regardless their skin colors or their place of birth. And that would somehow, I believe, stop or end the relative deprivation that the people from USA are living right now. And it somehow would kind of lessen the hunger of the people that are in the street right now, protesting against the system.
Thank you, Mr. Carmona, for joining us tonight, and you have done a great discussion about the topic, and it was so informative for all of us. I hope you would join us in the coming up events, and also thank you for your time. Thank you so much for joining.